Invincible was real. And I know you're thinking that I'm taking it too far with this one, that there's no way that Invincible was real. Real life Invincible. Adrian De Wiart was shot in the head, shot in the stomach, shot in the ankle, shot in the hip and leg and his groin and his hand. Fought in World War I and World War II along with 2 other wars. Had his left hand amputated after tearing off his own fingers because the doctors were too slow to do it. And he survived 2 plane crashes. So yes, Adrian De Wiart was... Oh, and meet Happy. Let me get out the frame. Meet Happy. He's even looking at the camera. Let's see how long he sticks around in this video. He's like 9 weeks old, so he's not gonna stay chill like this for more than 2 or 3 minutes. Alright, so Adrian Carton de Wiart was born in Brussels, Belgium on May 5th in 1880. His father was a wealthy Belgian lawyer and his mother died when Adrian was 6, and when he was 14, he found himself at Oxford. But when he was 19, he asked himself, what do we say to education? Not today! And so he dropped out to join the British military. Unfortunately, he was neither British nor old enough to actually join the military, so he faked his identity as 25-year-old British Trooper Carton so that he could still join his first war as a teenager. If you never watched Boer War I, you're obviously also unfamiliar with its sequel, so let me catch you up. Wait, I can't use that song, that's 100% copyright. Let me use this song instead.
The Netherlands colonized the lands of Africa in 1652, but an unexpected threat arose in Europe, the Hearth Napoleon. To raise money to fight the European conqueror, the Netherlands had to sell its stolen African lands to the Kingdom of England in 1814. However, the Dutch people born in Africa had since called themselves Boer and considered South Africa their home. So when the English came to take their lands, they were like, "Who the f*** is that guy? Who the f*** is that?"
And so the Boers and the British fought 2 wars over land that belonged to neither of them. Yeah, we're reaching the limit. I told you, 3 minutes, we reached the limit. Enter Adrian Carton de Wiart, who fought for the British in these war campaigns, which really boiled down to the Boer imposing grueling guerrilla warfare on the British, during which Adrian was wounded several times in the Battle of Stormberg in 1899. First, he was shot in the stomach, but when the British asked him if he wants to leave the war, he said, and I quote, "No, I'm just getting warmed up." Then, later that year, he was shot in the groin, and when every man on earth collectively felt his pain and thanked him for his service, Adrian just said, and I quote,
"Well, you don't have to mention that. That was fun."
After the groin shot, Adrian was sent home to recover, so he used the time to go on campaigns with his dwarven raid party. You know, the one led by Tolin Foulbeard and Tormin the Cold, 2 of the greatest dwarven champions in all of Teleria. Oh, you don't know? Fair enough. The dwarves were kind of isolated for centuries, doing their thing, mastering magical engineering before they recently emerged into the world of Teleria like...
We're not here just to take part! We're here to take over!
Seriously, they're kind of running the show now with their heavy armor and massive room-powered steampunk weapons that are so tremendously oversized. Some might say it seems like they're trying to make up for something, but trust me, it's not all dwarf-sized, oh my guys, you know what I mean? Wait, it's not like a scene. I'm saying trust me, because legend has it, you know? So you got Underpriest Brokeny swinging his mace, Hurendik swinging his hammer, and Gala Longbraids axing it up. And they are just 2 of the powerful dwarves that are joining Queen Thickness herself, Trunda Guildmollet. And if you download the game by my link below and use the code DEMONSLAYER before the end of June, you get the legendary dwarven champion Tolin Foulbeard for free, as well as a starter pack with Ultimate Galek and another one at level 15 with Epic Zargala. Also, regardless of whether you're a new or returning player, you get 2 more promo codes that I put in the description below along with the link. And once you have the game, join my clan, Brief Nation, which Adrian De Wiart didn't, unfortunately, because after he recovered from his injuries from the war in South Africa, he went to train in the British Army, specializing in cavalry tactics, marksmanship, and scouting, just the skills needed for another war that was going on in 1914. This one a bit bigger than the last, and you might remember it by its name. Adrian was 34 years old now and participated in several battles during the war. First, there was a British war campaign in Somaliland in 1914. Adrian was deployed here to help defend the British garrison against attackers, and in his first battle, he was shot in the head.
Oh.
But he survived, right? He survived. He lost an eye, but he survived. Put on an eye patch and was henceforth forever known as the one-eyed unkillable soldier. Which, funny enough, just so happens to also be the nickname of my... Some would probably call this a traumatic life experience, but for Adrian, it wasn't even a bad day at the office, man. Much later, Winston Churchill allegedly said, "I honestly believe that Adrian regarded the loss of an eye as a blessing, as it allowed him to get out of Somaliland to Europe, where he thought the real action was." This guy was a dog, you know what I'm saying? This guy was like, "I don't want peace." You know what I mean? I don't want peace.
I want problems, always.
Literally, Adrian De Wiart. So, anyways, off to Europe it was, where Adrian made his debut in the Battle of Ypres in 1914. This was your typical First World War trench warfare, where an estimated 58,000 British soldiers died for every inch of land that was gained and then lost again. The British were facing the Germans and were pinned down by stationary machine guns, overlooking the territory and just mowing down everything. But eventually, Adrian got tired of hiding in trenches, so he formed a unit and charged those stationary machine guns. Now, as far as men on foot versus men behind stationary machine guns go, a lot of the men on foot generally die before reaching any of the men behind the machine guns. Adrian was shot too, in his hand, but he still managed to cut the man manning those machine guns down with his one good arm, all to gain an inch or two for his country. But whatever, man, I'm gaining an inch or two just telling this man's insane story, because you can't make this type of bravery up, and you haven't even heard anything.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
After the battle, the doctors were hesitant to amputate his hand, so Adrian ripped the first two fingers off himself, so they finally get to chopping and he can get back to shooting, which leads us to the next battle, the one that really made Adrian a legend, the Battle of Boissel in July 1916. And I kind of skipped over this part. Can we just, he ripped off his two fingers before they amputated his arm because they were too slow to Anyways, Boissel, 1916. The British had wounded soldiers stuck in no man's land, named so because it was a battlefield, again, completely surveyed by Germans behind machine guns firing at everything and anything that moves. Enter one-handed Adrian, who made a run through no man's land, took a bullet in the leg, took a bullet in the ankle, but kept going to rescue several wounded soldiers by dragging them back into safety. So just 2 years into the war, and Adrian had been shot in the head, lost his eye, shot in the leg, shot in the stomach, shot in the groin, shot in the ankle, and he lost his hand. Damn. And still, here he was, rocking an eye patch, limping on a walking cane, still itching to get back into the battle. And I know what you're thinking, oh, Brief, what do you mean? He got back into the battle on one hand, the walking cane, one hand. How does he even, a gun, what does that even mean?
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It's
Gets
gross.
the people going.
But we have one witness account that at least explains how he threw grenades. Supposedly, Adrian pulled grenade pins with his teeth and threw them with his one good arm to make things blow up. But since a walking cane is still a huge negative on your agility stats, Adrian also got blown up by a German artillery shell that sent him flying like a ragdoll. Except that Adrian is not a ragdoll, because Adrian was invincible. And so he got back up and was ready to get back into the fight if it wasn't for the fact that he had lost so much blood that his body said, "Time out, coach. Time out, man." His body collapsed, decided it would sit the rest of World War I out. After the war, Adrian received the Distinguished Service Order, the Croix de Guerre, and the highest honor the military in Britain can award, the Victoria Cross, for his bravery at the Battle of La Boisselle. But Adrian's real reward was the next war. Since the British did not have any ongoing wars of their own at the time, Adrian decided to join the Polish forces.
Because that's what heroes do.
So Adrian and his Polish brothers from Polish mothers fought against the Bolsheviks, or the Soviets to use more modern terms, and Adrian was a vital part of the Polish victory in the Battle of Warsaw in 1920, where he helped coordinate the Polish cavalry charges against the Soviet forces. And then once, I'm not making this up, once he fought off the Red Army when they attacked the Polish supply train. Yes, a literal cliche action movie firefight on a moving train between a British agent and Russian attackers. If this were a movie, at this point you would turn off because it's unrealistic. But we're not even done yet. We're halfway through and it gets crazier. For his services in Poland, Adrian was rewarded with medals from Poland, Britain, and France. But his real reward, were more battle scars. 2 more shrapnel wounds in his chest and back, another gunshot wound in his leg, and a dislocated shoulder. But there was no time to rest, because Adrian had a plane to catch to get to another battle that same year, except that plane crashed. But of course, Adrian survived with a broken rib and another dislocated shoulder, proving once and for all that he truly was invincible. Eventually, after killing countless people in 3 combined wars, Adrian was appointed the British military representative to Poland, because the most blood-crazed, violent men apparently make the best diplomats. I don't know. But Adrian hung around in this role until 1939, when his true nature called, and he could join active battle again, thanks to a new war making waves around the world. At this point, Adrian was a 59-year-old British liaison officer in Poland when the Germans came to invade from the west and the Soviets came to invade Poland from the east. And the only liaison, one-handed, one-eyed Adrian knew was to kill as many of them as possible. The man was ready to fight, but even he had to bow out against overwhelming enemy numbers and official orders. The Germans and Soviets were overwhelming the Polish forces with a combined 2.3 million troops to Poland's 1 million troops. So Adrian was ordered to evacuate, which he did, across Romania and France, improving his KDR a little here and there in 1 or 2 skirmishes while he was evading capture, until he got to Norway, where he kept on fighting. This time as an officer in the Narvik campaign, helping coordinate the Norwegian resistance, and here he was again wounded in a bombing attack. Hey, but a minor bomb couldn't stop Adrian from celebrating his sweet 60th by joining yet another battle. He boarded a plane to the Mediterranean, where World War II now raged on, and there another plane crashed in the ocean on the way there. Again, 2 of the crew died, but Adrian survived the crash and swam ashore in Libya, where once he was on land, he realized that his back hurt a little from the crash impact.
I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken. Spinal.
Yeah, seriously, this old man had broken his back in the crash and still swam across the ocean, only to then get captured and taken away as a war prisoner by the Italians, who took him to a war prison in a castle in Florence. And what did senior prison citizen Adrian do? Rest his broken back? Nah, he escaped 5 times. Obviously, he didn't do a particularly good job at the staying free part, but he had the escaping part down pat, man. The first time, he dug a 60-foot tunnel underground with tin cans, but the tunnel collapsed, unfortunately. Next, he climbed out of a window and scaled the castle wall, but got caught when trying to cross a river. The 3rd time, he dressed as an Italian worker, just walked on out of the prison, but he was caught 8 days later because he didn't take off his eye patch. Fashion. The 4th time,
At band camp?
he bribed a guard with cigarettes, but the guard just took the cigarettes and then told on Adrian. I'm actually not sure if that counts as an escape attempt, but... Snitch! And Adrian's last attempt was faking an illness so well that he was hospitalized, but when he tried to escape the hospital, they caught up to him and brought him back in. But basically, his 2 years in that castle prison were just extended senior summer camp for Adrian, playing catch me if you can with the guards. Eventually, he was released at age 63 in 1943 after the Italians negotiated peace with the Allies. And so, after 4 wars, 2 plane crashes, countless bullet holes, Adrian was knighted in 1945, and now Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart was finally ready to retire, chill and live a quiet life with his wife, the Countess Friederike Maria Carolina Henriette Rosa Sabrina Franziska Pauline Gräfin Vogel. What, did you think Adrian the living legend had a normal wife?
Not even close.
So quiet, chill, married life it was, except that for 67-year-old Sir Adrian, the quiet life with the fancy countess meant serving as Prime Minister Churchill's personal representative and managing all the British post-war mess in China, which likely involved some secret missions that Adrian and all involved were sworn to never talk about. So we can just casually add secret agent to his resume, like 007 type things, you get me? It's ridiculous. And eventually, he then wrote about all of this in his biography called Happy Odyssey, because evidently, while others are traumatized from their injuries and their time at war, Adrian didn't just like it.
Hell, I love you!
And after this all-out action life, Sir Adrian Carton de Wiart died quietly in his sleep in his own home on June 5th in 1963 at age 83. What a legend, man. Just a legend, man. And don't you forget that you can forge your own legend in Raid Shadow Legends, free to download from my link below, which gets you several powerful champions to start with, including this guy.